Tonight's topic on resilient parenting is the topic of the art of praise. It is not so simple to say to a child, you're great, you're fabulous, you're fantastic, you're beautiful, you're wonderful. Because oftentimes a child does not believe that that praise is sincere. Why should we praise children anyway? One parent said to me, when my child turned down the music, I was always after him to turn down the music. And one day he did, I didn't praise him because that's what he's supposed to do. Why should I praise a child who's doing what they're supposed to do? I don't get praised for going to work. I don't get valued by my family for bringing in an income. I don't get praised for putting out dinner on time. I do what I'm supposed to do. Shouldn't we get rid of the idea of praise and train the child to do what they're supposed to do? Same thing with giving tickets or prizes for good behavior. Why should I give children tickets for brushing their teeth or doing the right thing or encouraging to do the right thing when they're supposed to do the right thing in the first place? Aren't I just making them dependent on praise or dependent on tickets to do the right thing? Now, when we grew up, we have different parenting styles that parents treated us with. One client of mine said, my father never said to me he loved me. He wasn't that type of person. He wasn't a gregarious, outgoing, demonstrative person. He couldn't bring himself to say, I love you. I asked that client, how did his father treat him? His father never told him, I love you. And they had a very strained relationship. It was a very austere relationship. I see. So it's intergenerational. The style of parenting goes back to the grandparents, even the great-grandparents. The question is, are we going to continue that? We have to think about that. Is it the right thing to teach a child to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do? Or is there any value in praising? The other side of the coin is one client of mine said to me that my mother was always praising. You're the smartest, you're the prettiest, you're talented. And I was afraid I was going to get a swelled head, but I didn't. You know why? Because I didn't believe her. When she was praising with such hyperbole, with such over-the-top OTT praises, I felt it was insincere, it was phony. I didn't believe her. Furthermore, when I got to school, let's say it was 4th grade or 5th grade or even high school, and I was told I was the prettiest, I found out I wasn't the prettiest. I was the best. I wasn't the best. I was the best artist. No, I wasn't. I was the best in math. No, I wasn't. So when you say to a child, you're the best or the greatest, and they come to school and they find out that they're not the best, they feel let down. They feel less than. Perhaps they feel that their parents deceived them or didn't prepare them for reality. So this is a really important dilemma. Should I praise the child and tell them that they're good when actually there are other people who are better? Should I withhold praise because I don't want a child to get a swelled head? Should I withhold praise because the child is supposed to do the right thing, and therefore praising the child will make them dependent on praise when that's not the real world? So praise is not so simple. Now, children have said that when a teacher says to me, great job, terrific, it's only because they're supposed to say that, not because they really believe it, and not because I deserve it. They want to encourage me. And sometimes they say they want to manipulate me. For example, they praise you, says one child, because they want to get you to do what they want you to do. For example, one client of mine, 14-year-old, said, I have long hair, and I went to get a haircut, and the barber made a mistake and cut it real short. So my grandmother said, oh, that is such a handsome haircut. You look like a movie star. That is fabulous. You should keep your hair that way all the time. Really good job. I know she was trying to manipulate me to continue to keep my hair short when I wanted to keep my hair long. So therefore, praise can also be seen as a manipulation. So children are very sophisticated. Teenagers are very sophisticated. They know when praise is real and when praise is not. And some children do say, I do believe that when praise is sincere and believable, then I accept that praise. So how do we achieve that? How do we navigate this world of praise, of whether to praise or not to praise, and how to praise correctly? And I believe this applies also to interpersonal relationships with adults. How do spouses praise each other or validate each other? How do friends praise and validate each other? This goes to a very important principle of relationship building. Now, I do a lot of dating coaching. Young men or young women come to me saying, I'm starting to date, or I've had some bad experiences dating. Please coach me in dating. What do I say? So we do role playing in conversations. And I try to get the other person to, if I'm the date, the person to try to say to me that they validate what I'm doing by asking me questions, validating what I'm doing, but not telling me that I am the greatest. Just by, and here's the key words, describe what you see. Describe it honestly and appreciatively, but sincerely. When you describe reality, stay with reality. Stay with the description of reality. That is something which is believable and sincere. Let's share with you some examples tonight from our parenting Bible, How to Talk So Teens Will Listen, and How to Listen So Teens Will Talk, a book by Adele Faber and Elaine Maislich. Hi, Mom. I did all the laundry.
You are always so dependable.
Well, not always. Lots of times I promise I'll do something and I don't. So here, a child, which is me, doesn't believe. I don't believe my mother or my father when they say to me, I'm always dependable. So the first thing is, let's avoid the hyperbole of always. Secondly, when I'm evaluating and I'm saying you're dependable, the child thinks, am I dependable? Not so much. So the correct way, or the more effective way of praise, or the type of praise which is going to hit home, is the next example. Go ahead, David.
You said the laundry would be done before I got home, and it was. Thank you.
Yes, I'm pretty dependable. So evaluations make not only kids, but people uneasy. But an appreciative description of their efforts or accomplishments is always welcome. Why? Because you're describing reality. If we are overwhelming the recipient with praise or with an accusation or an evaluation, we are squashing their free will. You're fabulous, you're fantastic, you're wonderful. What's wrong with that? You're dependable, you're responsible, you're great. Aren't I doing a good job as a parent? Well, let's see whether it works. You're doing a good job as a parent if the praise hits the mark and allows the child to walk away from a interaction with the parent and say those same words to themselves. That's the issue. If I say to my child, you're fabulous, will my child walk away and say, I'm fabulous? If I say to my child, you are an unbelievable athlete, will my child walk away saying, I'm an unbelievable athlete? The child knows there are other people better than them on the team, most often. So therefore, if I use over-the-top praise, the child is not going to believe me, first of all. And secondly, the child will never repeat those words to themselves. What we want to do is develop self-esteem in a child and self-confidence by allowing the child to evaluate themselves. I did this example some weeks ago when we talked about directing or correcting a child's behavior or getting a child to cooperate. there was an illustration of a bathtub almost overflowing. And the parent said incorrectly to the child, you know, you always leave the tap on and you turn away and you forget about the tap and it causes a flood and it's going to cost us a lot of money. Are you so airheaded that you keep forgetting? What's the matter with you? It's going to cost us a lot of money. So here the parent is giving a value judgment, is giving so-called discipline, but is adding so much evaluation and so much accusation and so much put down that the child is going to feel broken and is not going to feel instructed. The correct approach in that case was, the tub is overflowing. Describe what you see. The tub is getting full. Oh, I'll turn it off. Or let's say the lights are left on in the house. We are wont to say to our children, do you know how much electricity costs? Do you know leaving the lights on wherever you leave a room, you come down for dinner or go out, is costing us a lot of money? Do you know how irresponsible that is? So when we do that, we are trying to discipline, but we're disciplining with a put down, with criticism, with judgment, with negativity. The correct approach when the lights are on is the lights on or the lights. Simply describe. So whether it is a direction to correct someone or whether it is a praise, be descriptive. This is reality. You finished the laundry on time. I appreciate that. Now you can go on to say, after you describe that, you can go on to say, that was very dependable of you. That was very conscientious of you. That was very sensitive of you. That was an act of responsibility. But don't start off with, you're dependable, you're amazing, you're fantastic. Describe what you see, describe reality, be sincere about it, and then you can add that you're a dependable person. Now, in these illustrations, they're telling us not to add that word, you're dependable or you're responsible. We want the child to walk away saying that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I believe that you can say you're dependable, you're responsible, because those words are what a child will walk away from the interaction and say to themselves. They'll repeat to themselves, yeah, I'm responsible. I'm conscientious. But if you give hyperbole without any specifics, it's not going to be something which is repeatable. The child will not learn anything about it, will not be able to integrate within themselves a feeling of their own sense of responsibility, their own value. We want to leave room for a child when we are disciplining or when we are praising for them to evaluate themselves. We can help them along with the evaluation by saying, you finished the laundry on time, that was very good, very dependable. You can add that, or that was responsible of you, or conscientious of you. But if we are specific, the child will be able to walk away and say, yeah, I'm responsible. We can teach them the words to describe themselves. That builds a sense of, and here's the key words, identity. My approach to parenting and my approach to counseling is we have to give each other an identity. Now, when we're growing up, a child doesn't have an identity. A young child is not able to evaluate themselves. They cannot self-reflect. And therefore, a child learns to identify themselves and give themselves an identity by virtue of what's called reflected appraisals. The parent reflects an appraisal of the child and says, you're a bad boy. Oh, I'm a bad boy. You're irresponsible. Oh, I'm irresponsible. You're bad. Oh, I'm bad. Or you're dependable. Oh, I'm dependable. Or I get things done on time. So if we complain all the time, as we spoke about last week, how many times do we say, pick up the laundry, pick up your clothes, put that away, hang up your stuff, take your plate off the table, help out around here. Isn't someone going to help out around? Don't drop the milk. Don't spill the milk. Clean up after yourself. Take a shower. Get into bed. Do your homework. If we say that 10 times a day, which is minimal, which is a very conservative estimate, and we add that up 10 times a day, times 7 days is 70 times a week times 50 weeks is 3,500 times during the year. Times 10 years old is 35,000 times. A child will not feel very good about themselves if we keep on hearing that I'm not measuring up, I'm not doing the right thing, I'm not pleasing my parents. So we have to be very, very careful, and we have to give a lot of thought to what we say to our children. It is very, very easy to criticize, very easy to put down and to judge. It is much more difficult to praise and validate. So we have to end the criticism, end the demands, and we have to guide with positivity. A child will never perform a good deed or do what you want them to do if you criticize, argue, demand, discipline. Time out. Never happens. It will never happen. Because the only way in psychology a person is able to perform or to change their behavior is by positive reinforcement of positive behavior. If they get positive reinforcement by saying, you put the laundry away, that was very responsible of you, thank you so much, they will do it again because they want the praise, they want the validation, they want the love, they want the support. That's how a person operates. That's how we learn. We learn by positive reinforcement of positive behavior. And it goes against psychological principles to criticize or complain or put down because simply it does not work. Secondly, it ruins the relationship because the child will not trust the parent and not be able to open up to the parent later on when the child becomes a teenager, because I cannot trust my parent to become emotionally safe. I need to feel emotionally safe in a relationship. That's the meaning of love. Love means emotional safety. We get married to create emotional safety. If I'm criticized by my spouse, I don't feel safe in the relationship. If I'm criticized by my parents, I don't feel safe. And that engenders low self-esteem, low self-confidence, and feeling bad about oneself. We're talking here about resilient parenting, where we teach resilience to our children and to ourselves as well by being positive. Positive with a correction by saying, lights on, tubs filling up, milk left out spoils. That's just direction. That's not a put down or evaluation. And so too with positivity and praise, we cannot be wanton and we cannot be simple-minded, or we cannot be simple about praising. You're great. Doesn't mean anything. It's not believed. It's not sincere, and it's manipulative. So here is an example of a child speaking to a parent. And now we see from an adult perspective, what does it mean for us as an adult to receive praise? There, that's fixed.
You're a great mechanic, Dad.
Hardly. All I did was change a spark plug. Look at the face of the adult. And of course, it's only an illustration. But the child saying, I'm great. I'm not great. I just fixed a spark plug, right? A more realistic praise would be the following one. Go ahead, David.
Hey, Dad, you knew just what to do to get the car going again.
I know a thing or two about cars. So here as an adult, I also don't believe my child when I am praised wantonly or with hyperbole. I'm not a great mechanic. So words that describe often lead people to a greater appreciation of their strengths. So the key is we have to leave room for the child or the adult to make their own evaluation. We need to learn to be able to be sophisticated in praise by praising somebody and allowing them to walk away evaluating themselves. We should not be evaluating, we should be describing what is, perhaps adding a little bit of a praise or validation by saying that's dependable, that's a specific validation of that's dependable, that's responsible, that's conscientious. They can walk away. And the key words are, can the child walk away and repeat that to themselves or the adult? But I, as an adult, will not walk away from an encounter with my child saying, yeah, I'm a great mechanic. When we praise a child or another individual, it's a very sophisticated approach to think about it before you praise and give them room to evaluate themselves. This allows room for free will. In order for someone to evaluate themselves, and here is the word, self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem. It has to come from the self. We as parents or as friends or as colleagues, work colleagues, or as spouses have to give the other person an opportunity to evaluate themselves based on what we are saying. But overwhelming with praise, which is hyperbole, does not allow the person to make their own evaluation. First of all, they don't believe it. Secondly, it's manipulative. Third, it's just not sincere. And overdone criticism squashes their free will as well. So the antidote in both cases is describe clearly with an appreciation, the level 1 voice. And we talked about level 1 voice, level 2 voice, level 3 voice. Level 1 voice is like this. I really enjoy your company. It's really fun to spend time with you. You're a really good person. I like you. Level two is, hi dear, when are we going out to the shops? When are we going to the store? What's for supper? Can I get you anything? That's level 2 voice. Level 3 voice is, don't you ever run in the road again without your hand holding on to daddy's hand. That's level 3 voice. The problem is that most of the time in our houses, we're using level 3 voice. It's very loud, it's very intense. And we have to tone it down. Be careful and think before we speak. Not only the content of what we say, but also the tone. And the tone levels are level 1, level 2, and level 3. Let's not use level 3. Let's use level 1. And your level 1 is usually reserved in an intimate relationship, whether it's a parent and child, whether it's two close friends, whether it's spouses. And level 2 is information. And level 3 should be used only when there is imminent danger. So these are types of communication, and the way in which we praise, the tone in which we praise, is also important in terms of getting it across in a sincere fashion. Listen to this, Dad.
Fantastic. You're a great guitar player.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. I only know 2 chords. So the father's trying to be nice, and it sounds great. You're a great guitar player, but I'm not a great guitar player. I know 2 chords. What is more realistic? How about this one? Go ahead, Doug.
Wow, I really enjoyed the way you played that.
Well, that was good. Just wait till I learn a few more chords. Here, the child has room to make his own decision and to self-evaluate based on what the father said. He enjoyed what I played. Well, maybe I could do better by learning more chords. That is positive reinforcement of positive behavior, allowing the child to say, yeah, that was pretty good. I can do more. That's a perfect example of positive reinforcement of positive behavior. Different kinds of praise can lead children to very different conclusions about themselves. The first conclusion was, you're a great guitar player. No, I'm not. Describing it was, yeah, I am good. What I did was realistic. It was good. 2 chords. I'm going to learn more. So that's positive reinforcement of positive behavior will get you more of that behavior. Now, what about children praising parents? And doesn't only mean children, but adults praising adults.
Mom, you're the best cook in the world.
Yeah, what I'm best at is opening cans. So I'm telling mom, or I'm telling my spouse, or my friend, or my neighbor, or my sibling, or my mother, you're the greatest cook in the world. I'm not the greatest cook in the world. I don't believe you. But let's try this one, David.
It's delicious, Mom. It's so hot and spicy.
I make a pretty good chili, right? It's realistic and believable. Now, people tend to push away praise that evaluates them. They feel uneasy. They feel uncomfortable. They feel they're in the spotlight. An honest, enthusiastic description is easier to accept. Let's conclude now. David, if you can read for us these general overviews of how to express appreciation to your teenager. Go ahead, David.
Okay, to your teenager. Instead of evaluating her, You're always so responsible. Describe what she did. Even though you were under a lot of pressure at your rehearsal, you made it your business to call when you knew you were going to be late. That phone call saved me a lot of worry. Thank you.
So that is an expression of feelings where the child can feel validated and make their own evaluation, say, yeah, I was a good person, I was a good, responsible child. What about with adults? Instead of evaluating dad by saying,
Instead of evaluating him, good job, Dad. Describe what he did. Well, you spent half your Saturday setting up the basketball hoop for me. Well, describe what you feel. I really appreciate that.
so here, this too, in terms of dads, in terms of relationships, which applies in interpersonal relationships between adult colleagues, adult friends, adult siblings, adult spouses. Here too, I think the lesson that we can learn from this is we have to think carefully before we praise. We should experiment with zero criticism, rather just describe what is, describe the reality. And as far as praise is concerned, think before we speak. It must be sincere. It must be believable. It must describe what is. And that requires not hyperbole, not you're fabulous, not you're fantastic, because nobody will walk away from an interaction saying, I'm fabulous, I'm fantastic. But if we were specific and describe what is, they'll be able to say, yeah, I did a good job there. I think I am responsible. I am diligent. Yeah, that will over time build a child or an adult's feeling of validation of themselves. This will then build the relationship. What we're looking for here is a development of a relationship of trust. We always talk about the idea of trust. How do you trust somebody? You trust them if they don't hurt you. I don't trust somebody if they lie to me or if they hurt me or put me down. I don't trust them because trust means I trust I will be safe. I will be emotionally safe in this relationship. Trust is built with words, with behavior, and also with words. So when we want to build this relationship with praise, let's do it wisely, let's do it sophisticated, and let's do it with level one voice. Level one voice is a voice of concern, sensitivity, intimacy, caring, sincerity. It has to be delivered in a believable way.